Why is the land of Antarctica suddenly breaking? Look at this 2 kilometers wide crack in Antarctica. This crack was so wide that it literally tore apart a large part of Antarctica and separated it from the continent. This crack is named Chaosm 1. Chaosm means deep crack, and 1 because it was the first crack seen in that region. But this was just the beginning. Now look at this image. Another crack broke another large part of Antarctica. It is as if another body part has come out of the body, and then this one more. It is quite strange that in the last few years the series of cracks in Antarctica has suddenly increased. Even scientists have become confused, because it seems as if every crack hidden inside the ice is now waking up. But what is the biggest concern? Do you know, if this continues, will the whole of Antarctica one day break into pieces? For example, just look at this northeastern region of Antarctica. These colorful lines that you see are the traces of glaciers that have broken and flowed into the sea. Literally 70% of the world's fresh water is frozen in the form of ice. When these glaciers start melting, they will increase the global sea level manifold. Just to give you an idea, it is a well-known scientific fact that the melting of just one glacier, the Thwaites Glacier, can increase the sea level by at least 65 centimeters. Now understand its seriousness. Just a 6-inch sea level rise has turned coastal regions like North Carolina into daily flood zones. Roads closed, houses submerged, people trapped, etc. And this was just an elevation of 6 inches. And we are not realizing that there are many countries in the world like Japan, Bangladesh, China and even which are already below the sea level even today, and if the glaciers keep melting, a large part of these cities will be submerged. And that is why it is almost becoming a global emergency. To study it closely, many countries have set up their research bases in Antarctica. It is not easy to set up a research base in an extreme environment like Antarctica. You will not believe it. For this, scientists and explorers literally had to struggle for decades. Forget about setting up a research base in Antarctica. In the long history of humans, the first human set foot here just 200 to 300 years ago, and that became a world record-breaking struggle. Imagine a place where the temperature goes up to -80 degrees Celsius and the humidity is less than 1%. That means it is technically drier than the Sahara Desert. The weather here is so bad that a human's skin can freeze in a few minutes. There is no permanent population here in Antarctica. In fact, even animals do not live on the entire land area. Even the polar bear with such a thick fat and skin could not survive in Antarctica. If you see here today, only penguins and seals live here, and they also mostly roam around the seashore. This is the long list of those people who set out to discover Antarctica and set foot on the South Pole for the first time. But they died in the middle of this journey. Humans have been trying to set foot on the South Pole for more than 100 years, but no one could even come close to it. And those who came very close, as we saw in that list, disappeared in the middle of this journey. Interestingly, this white desert Antarctica, which has been stationed on the South Pole for the last 70 million years, came into the sight of humans only 200 years ago. Just imagine, when the British were ruling India, even then the world had not seen Antarctica. In the book of world history, Antarctica is the last page that no one turned till the end. Normal airplanes were not even allowed to pass over Antarctica because they had to face some such conditions. The same was the case with ships and cruisers. And today only a few scientists are here because it is said that there are only 2 things on this land: silence and questions. Questions which always arise, but the answers always get buried under a thick sheet of snow. Like, how is this place so cold, when once there used to be a dense forest here? Or what do NASA people come here to search for again and again? And the biggest thing is, if this is just an icy place, then why are UFO sightings happening here without any explanation? What is so special about Antarctica that makes it the world's deadliest land? Why did so many people lose their lives in reaching its center? So come on friends, today we turn the last page of history and break the lock of all the secrets buried under this cold grave, and see what is hidden in this world's biggest secret world. So 2,000 years ago, philosophers like Aristotle and Ptolemy had already imagined a large landmass at the extreme south of the Earth. Because there had to be a large landmass to balance the islands up north. This mysterious land that was the subject of everyone's imagination was given a Latin name. Era Australis Incognita, that is, the unknown southern land. Now in 1520, a famous Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan reached as far down as the tip of South America and saw a passage beyond which he saw many icebergs. But as you can see, they were still a long way from Antarctica. And then in 1773, a British explorer Captain James Cook went a little further and became the first man to reach Antarctica. Those who crossed the Antarctic Circle did reach very close to Antarctica, but could never see the land of Antarctica. They could only see huge mountains of ice far and wide, and that is why they came back from there. And then in 1820, through a Russian explorer Fabian Gottlieb van Bellinghausen, the world came to know for the first time that a whole continent is settled hidden on the high rocks of ice visible from a distance in the south. This continent was settled on mountain-like rocks 2,500 meters above sea level. That is why James Cook also missed it. Even till today, Antarctica is considered the highest continent in the world. But how to climb such high rocks? Before that, where should the ship land? Because there was no safe harbor like a beach here. Everywhere there were only thick glaciers of ice, i.e. rocks. Apart from this, there were freezing winds, high waves, the weather worsening in the blink of an eye and minus cold. All these conditions played such a trick that Fabian had to take a U-turn and return immediately. There was no significant progress in the search for Fabian for the next 50 to 60 years. Because all the explorers and captains who tried to go there with their ships, either returned due to the storm Antarctica in front of the world. When Robert Scott and his team were returning from their ship, tired and disappointed, they got stuck in a huge snowstorm and their entire team died one by one there. And in the list I showed you in the beginning, there is a mention of Robert Scott's mission Terra Nova expedition, in which all those explorers were buried in the snow forever. The whole world had understood that surviving for just a few days is much more challenging than landing on Antarctica. BBC called Antarctica a frozen graveyard in this article published in 2020. Because Robert Scott's body is just one body in a pile of bodies of sailors from many unfinished and failed expeditions. Even today, many bodies have sunk into the crevasses and glaciers of Antarctica, which have never been found by people, and not many people have even gone to look for them. Now if you pay a little attention to these cases, you will see some patterns repeating in these deaths. Like explorers getting lost in storms or blizzards, starvation, ship breaking down, getting stuck in ice. All these incidents are repeating again and again. Now why is this happening? To know this, we have to understand the unique geography and rules of Antarctica, which makes it different from the North Pole. Look, first of all, there is a lot of ice on the South Pole. As compared to the North Pole, 90% of the ice of the whole world, I repeat, 90% of the ice of the world is in Antarctica. In fact, 70% of the fresh water of the world is also frozen in the ice of Antarctica. And that is why the average temperature of Antarctica goes down from -40 degrees Celsius to -90 degrees Celsius. Whereas the average temperature of the Arctic goes only from 0 degrees to -40 degrees. That is why even though you will find land mammals like Arctic wolves, foxes, reindeer, oxen, polar bears and even rabbits and ships at the North Pole, there are none of these at the South Pole. The second unique thing is that the blizzards that we have heard about time and again, are found here like nowhere else in the world. It is a normal hurricane. Such storms that cause great destruction. In these, the wind speeds are only 100 to 150 kilometers per hour. On the other hand, in Antarctica, the winds easily blow at a speed of 200 to 300 kilometers per hour. So why do the winds blow so fast in Antarctica? Well, there is an interesting reason behind this. Look, wherever you go on Earth, you will find the sky colder than the ground. For example, if the ground temperature in Mumbai city is 28 degrees Celsius, then the temperature in the sky will be up to -40 degrees Celsius. What happens is that the warm air below rises against gravity to the upper atmospheric layers, due to which slow winds are created. Normally this happens everywhere on Earth, but Antarctica is the only wonder where the ground itself is colder than the sky. And because gravity also pushes these winds down, due to this the winds accelerate downwards tremendously and start spreading across the entire Antarctica plateau with stormy pressure. And this is the reason why such snow blizzards are seen very frequently in Antarctica. And researchers and workers literally have to walk holding onto a rope line. And this is also because cold air does not retain moisture, i.e. humidity. That is why the entire continent is extremely dry, almost close to 0% humidity. This is why Antarctica sucks all the moisture out of human bodies in one go, and exposed skin gets frostbites in a matter of seconds due to dehydration. If precautions are not taken, the affected part will turn black in minutes and become lifeless like this. Another thing, just look at this clip. What can you see in it far and wide? Nothing, right? The sky is white, the fog is white and the ground is white. This is called whiteout. And in such conditions, a traveler loses all his sense of direction. He keeps moving round and round in the same place. And if you do not know where you are going, then you will fall straight into an icy grave, because this is called a crevasse. It may look like a flat crack, but their depth is on an average 65 to 100 feet. That means if you put your foot here even by mistake, you will fall straight 100 feet down into an icy grave. And the most worrying thing is that Antarctica is full of such crevasses. And you will not be able to recognize many of them even before you step on them, because they are covered with a layer of ice. These crevasses are also a big reason why we could never find many explorers who did not return from Antarctica. It was as if they disappeared. And that is why there is no permanent population in Antarctica till date. And the most worrying thing is that these crevasses are suddenly turning into big cracks in today's times. And then these cracks are slowly breaking this continent. One such terrifying experience literally happened in front of the eyes of a scientist. On the 31st of October 2016, the ground suddenly started cracking in East Antarctica's Brunt Ice Shelf, and at the same time, from the other side, the Cascade 1 crack also started expanding directly towards a research base. This base was none other than the world's most advanced and Antarctica's only mobile base, the British Antarctic Survey's Halley base. This base was built to solve the mystery of cracks in the freezing cold of Antarctica. And at that time, many genius scientists were present there who noticed something strange in the satellite images, and it was as if the ground was slipping under their feet. The Halley research base was now stuck between two growing cracks. The situation was getting worse and worse, and this is where the smart design of the engineers performed a new miracle. They towed the modules of the research base with the help of specialized tractors for 23 kilometers in just 13 weeks. They took it inside just like a Lego toy, and then finally their hard work paid off, because in 2023, both the cracks together gave birth to a massive iceberg AD1. This incident was a wake-up call for the scientists. Because this happened in front of their eyes, and there are many regions which were stable long back and are still developing cracks. And that is why after this incident, scientists started doing more in-depth research on those stable cracks. The cracks that are seen in Antarctica today are a matter of concern for scientists because every crack has its own story. And some cracks are developing in such ways which scientists had never even thought of. Like this Larsen B ice shelf discovered in 2002, which broke completely in just 35 days. And in some places like Pine Island Glacier, the speed of the cracks was so high that it was equal to a car moving on the highway. This crack developed at a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. At one place, an area of 10.5 kilometers cracked in just a few hours. Literally, in the blink of an eye, a part of Antarctica was separated. Well, some cracks are such that by breaking, they start a chain reaction. Like, when a glacier melts, it takes the other glaciers connected to it with its submergence. Like Thwaites Glacier, it is so dangerous that scientists literally call it Doomsday Glacier. If it melts completely, then the Thwaites Glacier alone can raise the sea level by about 65 centimeters. In the same year 2025, the world's largest glacier A23A was moving towards the British territory South Georgia. The world's largest iceberg has broken away from Antarctica and is approaching the British territory of South Georgia, home to the largest penguin unsealed colony. But luckily it got stuck 70 kilometers from South Georgia in March, and you know what? Whenever a large piece of ice moves or separates from Antarctica, not only the ocean but the whole world shakes because such events also change the Earth's gravitational field and rotation a little bit.
Now, the world's largest iceberg has broken away from Antarctica and is approaching the British territory of South Georgia, home to large penguin and seal colonies. Fishermen and authorities are bracing for impact. Regina Ranard reports.
So yes, the world literally shook when a piece of Antarctica broke off. And also, hidden beneath all these massive icebergs and glaciers, lies a world that has probably never been exposed to sunlight. And now, as the glaciers melt, sunlight will touch its seafloor for the first time. You know, to witness this rare moment, researchers have left their daily routines and immediately set out for places where the cracks completely separate, like we saw. Scientists sent remotely operated vehicles underwater to get a glimpse of this newly emerged world. They saw joint sponges, pink corals, glassy octopuses, ghost fishes, and a massive phantom jellyfish whose bell was about 5 feet long. So in this new world, there may be many new species of creatures that have evolved to survive in darkness, and not just darkness but ice plus darkness. Some may have evolved for hydrothermal vents here. Seeing the view of this new world, a very interesting thing came out of the mouth of scientists, that life finds a way just like humans have found a way into Antarctica. Now, as difficult as it is for humans to navigate here, it is equally difficult and risky for airplanes. Commercial flights avoid even flying over Antarctica. And only those flights come here which are shuttling researchers and experimenters here or delivering goods to them. Turbulence due to dense fog, unpredictable climate and strong winds because it is close to the poles. That is why navigation gets disrupted due to magnetic fluctuations. There is no station for safe landing here. Even the absence of a refueling station here are some major reasons. Airline companies find it risky to pass through here. But now this question must be coming in your mind, that if Antarctica is so dangerous, then how come so many people are visiting there comfortably today? They are making great vlogs. So many cruises keep going for Antarctica expedition. Well, if you look at the year 1990, only about 500 tourists used to go to Antarctica every year. Today this number has increased. Do you know how much? 1 lakh. And the entire credit for this goes to our advancement in navigation, engineering and science and technology. But even after all this, the window to visit Antarctica is still only 3 to 4 months. Between November and March, 2 months because half of the time there is no moon there. Plus in winters, especially in July and August, the temperature here goes down to -80 degrees Celsius. Combined with 200 km/h winds and blizzards, how can a person survive here? Well, according to official records, only a few thousand people live here in Antarctic winters. And all of them are scientists and researchers. Their research bases are shielded and protected in this way. And in winters, they also get completely covered in snow. The snow has to be dug out and cleared with the help of machines. Now today the US has done a great job there. Its main Antarctic research station has been built in such a way that food and water has been made available for these capable researchers 24 hours a day throughout the year in a remote location like Antarctica. Look, this is the research station and the largest town of Antarctica, the McMurdo Research Station of the US. Every summer 500 to 1,000 people work here. There are ATMs here, hospitals and medical facilities, stores for convenience, research labs, comfortable rooms, gyms, etc. This station also has the only waste management facility of the entire continent, where they filter and process the garbage of the entire town and recycle it. Now, consider this a compulsion because US supplies come to McMurdo only once a year. Now all this is basic facility. But in today's times, there is one more thing which has become very basic. Internet. Will the internet be available in the isolated whiteland of Antarctica? Well, even the commercial geo satellites of Earth do not fly here. So is there availability of the same internet as we use? Well, no, there is only a window of 4 to 5 hours in a day when Iridium satellites pass near Antarctica. These satellites basically provide the service of satellite calling and emails, and that too at limited speed. So it's not the best speed, you're not talking about streaming Netflix or downloading videos, but it does give you a pretty stable internet connection. That's why sending a single email costs $3. So today here we talk about the ease with which we chat on WhatsApp and Instagram. What kind of research are these scientists doing while being off? Well, what is the impact of Antarctica on the Earth's climate? How is melting ice contributing to rising global sea levels? What is its impact going to be on Earth in the future? How did the unique animals and organisms of Antarctica evolve to survive in such an extreme environment? How did Antarctica used to be a green continent 35 million years ago? But today it has become a white continent. And finally, the most important and surprising thing is that we are trying to know about the real nature of the dark universe from Antarctica. The picture of a black hole that the world saw for the first time in 2019 would not have been possible without the South Pole Telescope located in Antarctica. Many scientists say that Antarctica is the best spot in the whole Earth for astronomical research. Because as we discussed that Antarctica is the driest area of this planet. Now water molecules actually disturb the waves and their signals coming from space, due to which noise is created in observation. But in Antarctica these disturbances are not created and a very clear view is obtained. And that is why all scientists are asking big questions like what is dark matter and dark energy? How did the universe change from a small point to such a huge structure? What secrets of the universe are hidden by the big stars located far away? Research is being done on these here. Now you can see on the screen what research is currently being done on priority in the research base of Antarctica. I will cite the links of these official websites and also the links of our complete detailed research in the description below. If you want to do research independently, then you can do it by going to those links. Well, now recently in a recent news of 2024, it was found that 500 billion barrels of oil is hidden under a large landmass of Antarctica, which is the world's largest oil reserve after the Middle East. So, are scientists of all countries unofficially going after this? Do all the powerful countries want to claim these resources of Antarctica through international politics? And are they after capturing these territories? Well yes, there is plenty of oil here under almost 5 kilometers thick ice of Antarctica. But all this does not matter, because after the implementation of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty and the Environmental Protection Treaty 1991, all nations have to follow strict laws and protocols under it. Well, due to this treaty, no country can conduct any kind of drilling, mining or commercial activity on the land of Antarctica. So no country can even think of tampering with those oil reserves. The reason behind this is simple, because if all the countries get greedy and start mining on the continent where 90% of the ice is located, then the ice will start melting and the ocean levels will rise, the consequences of which will have to be borne by the whole world. You can see some major points of this International Antarctic Treaty on the screen. Only scientific research-related activities are allowed on Antarctica, and the findings of those research will also be publicly disclosed. The military of any country cannot even set foot here, and Antarctica will remain a free continent on which no country can claim its territory. And under this, we will not perform any activity that disturbs or destroys the biodiversity of Antarctica. Because Antarctica is an extremely closed and isolated ecosystem. There are strict rules for even tourists here which are mandatory to comply with. The International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators has issued a Don't Pack a Best policy. This means that we are not allowed to take even bacteria or microorganisms of any kind to Antarctica. This means that your clothes, shoes, luggage, everything will have to be sterilized before stepping on the land of Antarctica. And before stepping on your shift from the land of Antarctica, sitting on your knees is not allowed there. So, if you want to make a cool snow ferry by lying in the snow there, if this is on your bucket list, then forget this thing. You cannot even dump urine on the ground there. In fact, everyone brings their urine back to the ship in bottles or urine bags. Tour operators also bring tourists back to the ships after showing them only the shores and some nearby tourist attractions. No one takes you to the interior regions of Antarctica. Don't even think of entering there. And going to the South Pole is almost impossible for a common man. There are so many restrictions there because the ecosystem of Antarctica is a very fragile and sensitive ecosystem. If any foreign pathogens or microorganisms enter this small ecosystem by mistake, then they can affect the local animals and living species here. They can cause unwanted mutations in them. In a BBC interview in 2004, Antarctic ecologist Dana Bergstrom said that some foreign virus species have already reached the South Shetland Islands of Antarctica, and a special type of avian flu has also started spreading on all Antarctic islands, due to which seals and birds are falling sick. This deadly flu spreads to the region. 100 pugs have been taken and samples taken to confirm the spread of the avian virus. Because all the ecosystems in Antarctica are interconnected, even a small mistake can create a butterfly or domino effect there, due to which water levels will eventually rise and half the world can drown. That is why it is called a ticking time bomb. And scientists want to be extra cautious. Plus, Antarctica has been frozen for millions of years and the ice freezes everything. Scientists are 100% sure that many species of unknown ancient viruses may be frozen between its thick permafrost layers. These viruses are also called zombie viruses. And if this permafrost ice melts, it can infect many types of animals and cause mutations and diseases. However, whatever viruses we have found so far, like this pithovirus Sibericum found in 2014, is a 300-year-old virus which we found in Siberia, and just recently in 2023 we found Pedorovirus Yedoma, a 48,500-year-old coronavirus. It mostly infects amoebas. But there may be thousands, even millions of such viruses in Antarctic permafrost, some of which may also affect normal animals and humans. Today a common man can reach Antarctica but cannot live there. Perhaps this is nature's way of telling us that you are guests here, not masters. There is no permanent population. Antarctica is not a destination but a test. There is no horizon, no shadow. Only those survive here who do not fight with nature but learn to flow with nature. Because this place tests the real limits of man, not his courage. Conquering Antarctica is much more difficult than reaching Antarctica. Because it is not a piece of land. It is a passion that accepts only those people who are ready to forget themselves to live here.